travel, music, pets, men, women, life in progress. Welcome to Let's Talk. Hey everyone, we are back here on Let's Talk. Jamie here, your host. When I started this podcast, one thing was clear to me. I really did not want to limit the topics we would cover. And one of the many discussions I really wanted to have on the podcast, or want to have rather, is music, because I am passionate about music. As some of you know, I'm a radio DJ and I share music every single day. Now, I've always loved music. I've always been passionate about it. I don't create it, but I was raised in an environment where everybody just loves it as much as I do. A big part of my love for it stems from the fact that I come from a very musical family. One of my family members who continuously creates music and who I'm a big fan of is my eldest brother, Desi. I remember days in high school or even back in grade school when I would be told by my friends that they're big fans of his. I remember days when girls would pass by the house and shout, "I love you, Desi." But as his little sister, I've always been a big fan of his work and his music. And I'm so happy that he said yes to joining us today. He is an entrepreneur now, a hubby, and a loving dad to two beautiful daughters. But to me, he'll always be my brother Desi, one of my favorite musicians. With that said, please help me welcome on the podcast my brother Desi, the musician. Hi, Kuya Das.
Hi, James. What
I'm
an
so happy you
introduction.
said yes. I know. I was nervous asking you to join this, and I told you this before, but
Mm,
it's a bit different when it's your family joining you on your show. So thank you once again for saying yes. I know you're a very private person, so it means a lot to me that you're here.
yep.
Okay, for
I'm happy
those
to
who
be
are
here.
watching, for those who are watching, by the way, if you aren't a Filipino and you don't speak the language, I'm gonna apologize right now because saying kuya to my older brothers is deeply ingrained in my system, so I can't shake it off. So it means older brother. For those of you who don't know what that means, I'm gonna be calling him that the whole episode because I simply can't shake it off. But anyway, how are you doing today, Kuya Das?
I'm good.
Okay, we have a lot prepared for all of you tuned in today, listeners and viewers alike. We have a few songs that my brother will be performing, but he's also said yes to me asking a few questions. So I look forward to that as well. But here on Let's Talk, we start off with the rapid fire questions. So, Kuya Das, what we're going to do is I'm going to be asking you quick questions. I won't be reacting to your answers, but your task is to give me answers that would be 1 to 3 words only per question. Are you okay
hmm
with that?
Sure, go.
Okay. Rapid fire questions. First song you remember performing.
First song. I don't know. Uh, Rainbow Connection, maybe.
Okay. Favorite singer.
Jeff Buckley.
Favorite song.
Uh, it's
I know it's a tough
okay.
question, so it's okay. But if you could only pick one,
Two
what
Two
would
for
that
the
be?
Road. Two for the Road by Henry Mancini.
Hmm. Favorite songwriter.
It would have to be Jeff Buckley as well.
Okay. What about favorite decade for music? 60s, 70s, 80s.
It would have to be the 60s.
Great choice. What about you mentioned your favorite singer earlier, but who do you think is the best singer out there?
The best singer. So that
Alive
includes
or
alive. No
those who
longer
have
alive.
passed away. That's okay. But for you,
Mm,
who is the best singer you've ever witnessed through videos or, recordings?
mm, I guess my answer would have to be Freddie Mercury of Queen.
Another great choice. What about favorite song to perform?
Favorite song to perform? Maybe mm, You and I by
I
Petula
remember you
Clark.
singing that.
Yeah.
Mm. Favorite song you've written?
Favorite song. Uh, it's kind of like
I,
it's not a really known song, but one of my favorites was, or still is, Flesh Incorporated
I have to listen
from our
to that.
demo.
I don't think I have heard it. I feel embarrassed as your sister. So earlier you said Jeff Buckley is your favorite singer and songwriter, but what about your
Hmm.
favorite band?
Well, there are a lot. I mean, I grew up listening to a lot of Queen, so Queen would have to be one of them, but can't just
Okay, top
have one
three.
favorite.
Top three.
Queen, the Beatles, the Beach Boys.
Hmm. Wow. In an ideal world, if you could, who's your ideal musician to collaborate with? Of course, for this, the musician would have to be alive.
Maybe Sting.
Wow. Yeah. Biggest inspiration when it comes to music?
I mean, when I write,
When you write, sure.
I guess life in general. That's
What
it.
about when you sing?
What inspires me to sing?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't answer that question. Sorry.
It's okay. Well, thank you for answering those questions. There are a few answers there that I didn't even know, and there's a song I need to
Mm,
listen to after this podcast. But with all that said, let's dive into our interview for today because I'm really just excited to hear you sing and perform as well. I
mm,
meant it earlier, Kuya Das, when I said you are one of my favorite musicians. And I always ask you, to perform more. And I'm glad that through this podcast, we can share your music with others out there.
mm.
So I know I asked this earlier and you had to think about it, but what's your first memory of you performing?
Mm, I I think it was mom. I remember mom teaching me a song, so that probably was the first song that I ever performed. I think it was "The Greatest Love of All" by Whitney
Whitney?
Houston. So that's probably. I mean, I take back what I said earlier, but I think the first song that I ever performed in front of an audience was "The Greatest Love of All" by by
What
Whitney
a
Houston.
song. Did mom
Yep,
choose that song for you?
I guess she did. I don't know. That was
Do you
during the
remember
80s,
how old
so
you were?
I don't. I mean, I probably sang
Okay.
a lot of songs before that, but that was, I guess it was clear, or it was very vivid to me how she taught me like how to sing that song.
Okay. And was it for a party, a gathering, or was she just teaching you so you can sing it?
I don't remember, but during our Christmas parties, I don't know if you remember, you were still a baby. They'd like videotape everything, like, right? Like
Yeah.
all of our occasions, like Christmas, New Year, and
Mhm.
they'd have all the grandchildren perform, and of course the titos and the titas would perform as well. So maybe
Yeah.
that was it. I don't know. It's
Mm.
it's very unclear to me. I can't remember what it was for.
Okay. But just so everybody knows, our mom is a great singer as well, and hence our mom teaching Kuya
Yep.
Das how to sing. But do you remember enjoying that process, or were you forced to sing for others? Is it something that you just enjoy doing at that time?
No, she didn't really force me. I mean, she suggested and she told me that she wanted to teach me the song. So,
Mhm.
well, I guess when you are younger, you kind of comply and just say yes and
Mhm.
not
And you
really
just
complain about it.
uh-huh. Well, she never really forced me to sing, so I guess I
Yeah,
never experienced
right.
that. But let's not delve into why she never forced me to sing. As I mentioned earlier, I don't create music. I enjoy it and I share it. And that's where my relationship with music ends. But I'm so lucky because I have people like Kuyadas who are so talented in it. And,
Mm.
I continue to enjoy your music, Kuyadas. Now, I know through the years you've loved it so much and you perform and you can, but what kind of songs are you drawn to now? What do you enjoy listening to first?
Well, I rarely listen to the newer stuff. There are a few good
Mm-hmm.
ones though, but I I tend to focus or listen more to like music from the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
70s, uh, the bands like the Beach Boys and the Beatles.
The Beatles.
So those are
I love them too.
the artists that are mostly on my playlist right now, and a lot of the oldies like the standards that are
Mm-hmm.
like Lolo and Lola used to listen to, and Mom, of course.
Mm-hmm. For the 60s, who are your favorite artists? There's so many to choose from. Aside from the Beatles and the Beach Boys, do you want to add any other musicians you love listening to from that
that's
decade?
that's pretty much it. But there are a lot of great artists from the '60s, but mostly
Mm-hmm.
just for me, that would have to be the Beach Boys and the Beatles.
And your favorite Beach Boys song would be, if you have to pick only one?
Uh, from the Pet Sounds album, I'm waiting for the day.
Hmm. I wish I could just ask you to sing these songs, but I know you've prepared a few songs for us today. What about the Beatles? What's your favorite song by the Beatles?
That's a hard question, James. Well, I like a lot of songs from the Beatles, but maybe I'll pick one from Rubber Soul in My
Hmm.
Life.
Beautiful choices.
Mm.
Now, I think we jumped a few years because we talked about how you started singing. It was the greatest love of all, Whitney Houston. Mom taught you.
I think, yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
think that was it, and then I also skipped a few years because you're a few years older than I am, so I just really
Mm-hmm.
grew up knowing you're so talented in music. I remember tagging along during your gigs, and you were so gracious to have your
Mm-hmm.
annoying sister tag along to your punch bowl gigs, Kuya Das. But what was the first instrument you started learning? I mean, your voice, that's your gift. You got that from mom, you honed it even at a young age. But when did you start learning how to play instruments? Do you remember
Well,
that?
yeah, we had a piano at home, so that's
Hmm.
how I learned. So it wasn't, I didn't get formal training, but I did for a bit,
We did for a bit, yeah.
mm, but kind of stopped. And I just, kind of dabbled and fiddled with the piano. And that's how I learned. I learned the piano on my own.
Hmm. Which is something I also admire because we all, the three of us,
Hmm.
Desi, JP, and I, would go to our piano lessons when we were much younger and we learned to read notes. But both Desi and JP can just listen to music and they can play the song. So they have the ability
Hmm.
to do that. So that's how you learned the piano. You learned it on your own for the chords, listening to
Right?
the songs and being able to
Hmm.
play it. But what about the guitar? You're so good at that now. I mean, that's something I'm proud of as well. Like, how did you learn how to play the guitar?
Okay, correction. I'm not that good when playing guitar, but it kind of started in high school
Hmm.
in Xavier. So it was part of like music class. So you had to learn how to play the guitar.
Wow.
So I didn't really have a guitar growing up, and
Hmm.
even during my high school days, I didn't have one. So to practice, I would go to our cousin's house. So they were just
Hmm.
neighbors. Paul, Koko's house,
Paul. Hmm.
borrow their guitar. It was a really old Yamaha classical guitar, and that's how I learned. So thanks to Paul and Koko's guitar.
Wow, you learned that on your own as well. And mind you, guys, this
Yeah,
wasn't the time when you could just easily Google chords and pull them up to learn them. So
yeah, but
I
there were a lot
it's
of. I think I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. The song hits. So they had
mhm.
chords. So they had a chord guide, which was pretty helpful back then.
I think I remember stumbling upon a book like that, which was
Hmm.
overused with all the chord
Yep,
hits at
I
home.
think
So
that
I
was
think
yeah, that was
I
mom's.
remember.
Yeah, the blue one or the green
Um,
one.
Now that we've talked about how you first started performing and your love for music and what it was like in the early years, I know that a lot of our listeners and viewers out there, like me, are very excited to hear you perform. So, with that said, I'm going to give the virtual floor over to you. Please perform one of the three songs you've prepared for today's show. Take it away.
This is everybody's gonna learn sometime. by the Corgis.
Okay, take it away.
Change your heart, look around you. Change your heart, will astound you. I need your loving like the sunshine. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Change your heart, look around you. Change your heart, will astound you. I need your loving like the sunshine. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. I need your loving like the sunshine. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Everybody's gotta learn sometime.
That was beautiful, Kudas.
So my hands are a
Okay.
bit rusty, so
No, that sounded
there are
amazing.
a
I'm
few
always in
mistakes.
awe. You know, that's the funny thing because a lot of musicians out there know when they make mistakes, but
Mhm.
to us who enjoy and consume your music, we hardly notice. I hear that a lot, even with RJ. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm a bit rusty and etc." But to us, it's just we just really enjoy your music. So thank you for
Mhm.
that first performance for the day. I forced my brother to prepare for 3 songs. Let's move on with getting to know him before the next 2 songs, though. I think this is when I come into the picture. I
Excuse me.
remember your music being so intertwined with Peach Fuzz because that's what I
Mhm.
witnessed as a teenager. I mentioned during the introduction earlier, Guidas, I still remember when my friends would say, I'm such a fan of Desi. Or I'd hear girls screaming, I love you, Desi. And this was something I witnessed firsthand. But how did
Mhm.
Peach Fuzz start? How old were you? Were you in high school? How did that all begin?
Peachfuzz was a high school band, but it wasn't my first band really. So I
Oh,
was on
okay.
a I was in a band with you know a few of them Like John
Mm-hmm.
Cinco was one of my first bandmates. So he's in Cebu now. He plays for um, a band called Island Joe and a few other outfits in Cebu.
Oh,
Um, yep, that was my first band. And uh, I was, Nino, right? So he's a relative
I do.
of ours. So he
Mm-hmm.
was a bassist for a band called Snuff. So
Mm-hmm.
we were at an audition for the Savior Days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I saw him play with uh, his band. They
Mm-hmm.
played "Are You Gonna Go My Way" by Lenny Kravitz.
Mm-hmm.
So I was floored by how good he was. I didn't realize he was a good bass player.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to talking, and he invited me to play, or I mean to sing in his band. So they wanted
Mm-hmm.
to, form a group, and he wanted to do covers of, because his old band, they did a lot of Wolfgang. So he was a
Okay.
big fan of Wolfgang, and he sort of wanted to play Eraserhead songs, and we love the Eraserheads, and of
Oh, I
course
remember that
River
time of
Maya as
yours.
well. So that's how we
Mm-hmm.
started the band. So we did covers of the Eraserheads and River Maya and a few other,
But
foreign
this was
bands.
for his band first. What was this band called?
If
Do
I
you
remember
remember?
correctly, the name of the band was Snuff.
Snuff. So it was for
SNUFF.
Snuff.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Before that, you said you had a band, and it's news to me again. Wow. What was that band called? Your first ever band?
It was a corny name, Scum.
Scum.
So
Not so. It kind of
those are the kind of
the
names that you come
emotions
up with
back in
when
the
you're in high
past.
school. Yep.
Scum, Snuff, and then
Yep.
Peach Fuzz. But before we dive into to Peach Fuzz, so Snuff was the band you were part of with Nino, right? How
With
long were you
Nino.
a part of that band?
I think it was 1995 or 96 when I
Mm-hmm.
started singing for that group. And it wasn't Taiki wasn't even our guitar player now, wasn't even the first
Mm-hmm.
guitar player. So it was some guy, I can't remember his name, still from the same school, but
Okay.
sorry,
Sorry,
Latoy.
guy,
Latoy.
whoever you are. Oh, there
No,
you
no,
go.
his
I'm
name is
glad you
Latoy.
remember the
There you
name.
go. Yeah. Sorry, Latoy.
Okay.
He was the first. He was the first guitar player, and it was Nino, and then Jed.
I
Jed
remember Jad. Yeah.
Hermida, who played drums
Yeah.
for us. So that was
Mm-hmm.
that's the first, or that's actually those are the first members of the band. And
Mm-hmm.
well, Nino and I got to talking about looking for a new guitar player since the toy was sort of busy with school and other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of mentioned a lot of other names. So Clapton was one of them. I don't know if you know him. Not Eric
I
Clapton, but
remember Clapton. No, not Eric
Clapton
Clapton, but
Ascension. Yeah.
yeah, I
So it's
remember
also
him.
a
Mm-hmm.
very good guitar player. And
Mm-hmm.
Taiki was mentioned as well. And it just so
Mm-hmm.
happened that Taiki just lived a few blocks from our house.
Uh-huh.
So me and Nino decided, oh, why don't we go to his house and just, I'll introduce you to him. And when we
Mm-hmm.
got to his house, we got to talking about, music, and we actually like the same bands.
Mm-hmm.
So like Queen, Extreme, of course,
Mm-hmm.
the Beatles, and other OPM bands like River Maya and the Eraserheads. So we sort of hit it off, and we decided, oh, let's form a new group, and that's
Okay.
how Peachfuzz came to be.
So when you formed Peach Fuzz, did you have to retire Snuff? Of
Yeah,
course you did, right? Okay.
we
So
went
Peach
through a
Fuzz,
lot of other names, but I think we sort of settled with Peachfuzz a few years later. I think 1998 or 97.
I
Yeah,
think a lot of people are wondering why Peach Fuzz? What was the thought process behind that?
sort of like a corny story behind the name.
Uh-huh.
So um, what we used to do in high school was we'd just hang out in the house, or maybe Nino's or Taiki's house, to have a few drinks and
Mm-hmm.
sort of play like Kanto Tambayan.
Yeah.
So I think there was this one time we were listening to Steve Vai's Fire Garden,
Mm.
and there's like a spoken part in between songs, and Steve Vai sort of like mentioned the word peach fuzz in his
Uh-huh.
weenie. So we kind of like we kind of, it just sounded nice to us back
Yeah.
then.
Uh-huh.
Sounded like a cool name for a band, and we decided, yeah, why don't we just use this?
Scum, snuff, and then finally, forever, it's peach fuzz now. I think it won't change ever now that you guys
Yeah.
are in your 40s, if you don't mind me saying that. I think everybody
Yep.
would be able to guess that anyway. So it's Peach Fuzz now, and you've been creating music together now when you can, because I know you all are busy with your respective things. But let's go back to the heydays of Peach Fuzz, which I mentioned earlier. I witnessed myself. You used to have a lot of Punch Bowl gigs in Cagayan de Oro City. I don't know if they still have that, but Punch Bowl was a venue where a lot of bands like my brother's band Peach Fuzz would get together and they would perform, and it was really great music at that time. Again, I don't know if it still happens now, but tell us about the songs Peach Fuzz would perform, Kuya Das. You mentioned that for Snuff, it was mostly covers of the Eraserheads hits, Wolfgang's hits,
Hmm.
and other music that Nino enjoyed. Peach Fuzz, what was your first repertoire?
It was more or less the same. We still
Mm,
did, you know, we loved the Eraserheads and of course River Maya, so we played a lot of that. So I think when we were already Peach Fuzz, we um, was a Trip album,
mm-hmm.
uh, Trip by River Maya. So we played a lot of that. We also did a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers too, since we were big fans of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So we did mostly um, Blood Sugar Sex Magic songs and uh, One Hot Minute, one Hot Minute album.
I remember when you were insane about Red Hot Chili Peppers. In fact, every time I play one of their songs, the only song I'm allowed to play on RJ FM that's
What
there
song?
is Californication. And I always dedicate it to you
Okay. So what's the
because I
reason behind
remember,
that? Why is it the only song allowed?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but it's just
Mm,
we try to, even if it's rock, we try to keep it a little bit mellow so it can't be
mm,
too grungy,
okay.
rockish, but we do play Californication. And I do
Mm-hmm.
remember your mad face, mad red hot chili pepper face when it would be on repeat every single day. So, when did you start creating your own music? It started off as a band that would play hits of others. And then I remember you guys having your own hits as well, being played on the local radio. For
All
you,
right.
because you're the main songwriter, Kuyadas, when did you start writing songs?
Early on, we didn't really know how to write songs. We just loved
Mm.
playing music. But I don't know if you know this, but we were actually invited to join, or one of our friends invited us to join uh, a band contest, which we didn't really like doing. But I guess that
Mm.
friend sort of convinced us to join. It was an RJ, an RJ music competition.
Oh,
Yeah, because
really?
there used to be an RJ store here in Cagayan de Oro, in the
Uh-huh.
Linkatkai area. So I think the requirement was. By the way, we already had a new drummer, who was already
Mm.
Janro,
Mm.
who played for Nancy Spungen, Gasolina. Um, yeah, they were pretty well known bands during that time. So
I
we
remember
joined.
Philip, right?
Yeah,
And
Philip. He's actually here in
uh,
Cagayan right now. He's on
okay.
vacation. They did a gig last Saturday, which we were fortunate enough to watch.
Nice.
So yeah, so that was it. The requirement for the RJ band competition was to do at least one original song.
Original song. And
So
I
and
said I remember that because I remember watching the videos of these band contests that they used to have, and I had no
mm,
clue you joined that. Wow. What was your first
yep.
original song for that contest? Do you remember?
So no, that that's just part of the story. So we didn't really
Okay.
get to write a song, but it was a challenge because we were given like a less than a week to come up with an
Mm,
original, and we didn't really know how to write songs, but we did
okay.
try. So we actually brought in instruments at home
Mm,
inside my room, and we attempted to make a song, but we thought it sucked. So what
okay.
we did, we decided to back out of that competition, not go through with it, and yeah, that was it.
Ooh,
But that sort of made me realize, why don't we make our own music? And that was like the start of it. So right after that, we we really started doing our own songs.
nice. I'm glad that competition pushed you to discover how you can write songs because that's
Mm-hmm.
the biggest part of why I enjoy you as a musician. I think you're a great storyteller along with your bandmates when you write
Mm-hmm.
songs together. And I know this next song was big in CDO in Cagayan de Oro City when you guys released it. I remember it reaching the top of the charts on Killer B. And it's something that most people from our hometown would request for. So are you ready to perform the next song for us?
Sure.
Okay, why don't you
Uh,
tell them about this song, Kuya Das, what you're going to perform right now? The
well,
virtual floor is yours. Here you go.
all right. This song is called "Communication Breakdown." When I woke up this morning, thought I heard you scream. When I lit up a cigarette, realized was just a dream. The plot began last Tuesday, alone 2 days ago. Now we're two down streets apart, never minding on no shows. Gotta find a reason things went wrong. Was it you or was it just me? Were we both wrong all along? I take back all those things that I said. I never meant to hurt you. Those better days still stuck to my head. Can we start over again? There must be a way for us to work it out. There must be a way for it all to go away. Let's give it more time so we can think it out. And we could start over and over again. 25th of heartache, still no word from you. But I'm pressed and in distress, and I don't know what to do. Honey, I surrender. Yes, I apologize. Of these accused, so reassured. Please come back into my life. I'm asking with no rum in my breath. I'm crying, supplicating to immortalize that day we first met and get back to being more than just friends. There must be a way for us to work it out. There must be a way for it all to go away. Let's give it more time so we can think it out. We could start over and over again. I take back all that shit that I said. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Those better days still stuck to my head. Can we start over again? There must be a way for us to work it out. There must be a way for it all to go away. Let's give it more time so we can think it out. Don't wanna love our precious love to go astray. There must be a way for us to work it out. There must be a way for it all to go away. Let's give it more time so we could think it out. We could start over and over and over and over again.
Beautiful. That remains my favorite song of yours. Not only because it was such a big hit back then, but love the words. I love the rhythm. And I still was singing along as you were singing that. Don't worry, I was on mute so as not to ruin your performance there. But tell me about the process. Like, how long were you together as a band when you gave birth to that song, Kuya Das?
So what I used to do a lot back in the day was, walk to Taiki's house and just hang out. So that's how most of the songs were written.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be just me and him,
Mm-hmm.
outside, maybe having a few drinks, and he'd do some riffs,
Mm.
and I'd sing to a lot of those riffs, and that's how most of the songs from our demo were made.
What's that demo called? What's the name of your album?
It didn't really have a title because we didn't
Mm.
really intend it to be released. I mean, uh, just to give you a brief uh, background on how it was recorded. So we, I think in 2004, that's when we decided to maybe record the songs that
Mm.
we'd written. But in Cagayan de Oro, there wasn't any good studio,
Mm.
so it was Chucky B who sort of suggested that we record in Cebu. So they
Mm.
just finished. I mean, I think there were two bands before us who were able to record in Cebu in backyard studio. So the first was Nancy Sponge, and I think the second band to record there was Tish. So it was
Mm.
a an alternative band. So it was Chuck who suggested that we go to Cebu. The problem was we didn't really have a budget, or we had
Mm.
very little money to record. So
Yeah.
they asked, and I think plane fare to Cebu back then was really expensive. It
Mm.
was, I think, 7 grand per.
Mm.
So
Person,
we
yeah.
decided to take the boat,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
and we just had an 8,000 budget to record everything. So that was 6 songs, and we only had less than 24 hours to finish that
Wow.
uh, recording all those 6 songs. So
Mm.
that already counted your sleeping hours. So more or
Wow.
less, I think it was about like close to 12 or 13 hours to record everything. So
Mm.
that's why we really didn't consider it an album. It was just a demo, and it just so happened that when we submitted the demo to one of the or to two radio stations in Cagayan, they I guess they liked it, and then it was given airplay. So
And it
yeah, but
became
it
a
wasn't.
hit. I remember it being on Killer Bee, right? That's one of
Hmm.
the stations in CDO. Is it
Yeah,
still up and running, Killer Bee? I don't know anymore.
I think it's called Magic now, but
Okay. Okay.
a lot of the old DJs are still there, and one came back. I think Booby is still
Mm.
there, and Little Man Ryan. So they were sort of like pioneers in Killer Bee.
So what was the other radio station that played your music that said
Uh,
yes to that
it
album?
was Sandy 101.
Mm. So
Yeah,
you had Communication Breakdown. What were the other songs that were a part of this demo? And were they all original or some were covers?
they were all original.
Mm.
So I think Pick Your Poison was the
Mm.
first song we recorded, and of course Communication Breakdown. There's the Last Dance release, uh, Chuck Up the Sponge, and Flesh Incorporated. So those 6 songs.
And so Communication Breakdown, dare I say, was the biggest hit of them all, right? On the radio stations in CDO, or was there another song that also made it to the airwaves?
There were a few songs. The Last Dance was also, or it had airplay as well, and
Mm.
release. It was also released by radio stations too.
Okay. Did you expect it to be a hit? Did you expect Communication Breakdown to receive so much airplay on these two radio stations?
I don't really consider that song as a hit, but I
Well, in
guess,
our hometown, it was. It had huge airplay. It was always on the radio, and people still request it until now, right? When you guys perform.
well, for me, when I make songs, I don't really write it just so it becomes a hit. I mean, I have to like it
Mm,
first. So it's sort of
mm,
selfish, but it has to be music that I like playing and I like singing.
mm,
So I like that song, and maybe a lot of people sort of related to the song
yes,
because of the
yes.
subject.
Hmm.
It's about like a breakup.
Yeah.
So some people would come up to me and say that, "No, it helped me get through a breakup," and listening to that song sort of like gave me hope.
Mm.
So maybe that was why uh, a lot of people asked for it.
I can attest to the fact that you don't make music to make hits nor pursue a career because I always beg you to share your music more and you always say why. It's just
Mm-hmm.
about performing because you love it, not
Mm-hmm.
because you want to pursue a musical career. I just
But
think
not that it's
you
a
have,
bad thing, okay? So I don't want others to
exactly.
misinterpret,
Exactly.
but writing a song to make it a hit is a good thing, but it's just not the way I function and not the way I
Mm,
like it's not the way music is for me. So it's just sort of like something that I really love doing. And
mm.
yeah,
So, how long did you take to write that song? You said it's about a breakup, and you said that normally you and Taiki would just have a few drinks outside his house, and
hmm
he'd do a few riffs, and you'd sing to it. Now, was that just created or written in one day, or did it take longer than just a session, a drinking session outside of his house?
everything from that time is just very cloudy to me now. But I think it happened gradually. So
Mm,
it happened organically. It wasn't really like a conscious thing to just make music with a deadline. So we took our
mm,
time to write them. So maybe it took a few weeks to have
mm,
everything done, like all the parts, uh, lyrics as well. So most
mm,
so most of the songs actually start with dummy lyrics, and some or a lot of them actually end up being the actual lyrics because we feel doesn't really make
makes sense.
sense, but it just sounds good. So let's just
Yeah.
go with that. So at least we have creative license. Doesn't really matter.
Paul McCartney, I remember reading an article saying Paul McCartney does that as well. He'd have dummy lyrics
hmm
to the tune, and then he'd figure out the lyrics after.
Yep.
But anyway, okay, so now we know how that demo album came about. Doesn't even have a title. It was just to create music, and a lot of these sessions were very organic. But when it became more mainstream in the sense that it was receiving airplay, how did life change for Peach Fuzz?
How
Or
did
did it?
life?
Yeah, did
Not
you
re
guys
not
perform more, or was it just
not
status quo?
not really. I mean, we still played in Cagayan, but we never really got to play, unfortunately, outside of Cagayan de Oro, which we
Mm,
wanted to do because we were like a lot of them were so busy with school and a
mhm,
lot of other things. So we received a lot of invitations to play, but
oh,
unfortunately, it just didn't happen.
hmm. So now that you're all again a bit older, you have your respective families and jobs. Do you
hmm
guys still get together? Do you still perform together? Is there still a Peach Fuzz out there?
There is. I mean,
Uh-huh.
the last time we played as a band, I actually told them let's decide that this will be our last gig because I just wanted mm, I just wanted to end things. I mean, we didn't really break up as a band, and a lot of
Mm,
people are still expecting us to play, but we really don't get to play a lot anymore. I mean, the last gig I think was before the pandemic. I mean, we've
mm.
had gigs after that, but it wasn't like the complete lineup or the original lineup. So it's
Yeah.
maybe
I,
Taiki's not part of it, or
mm,
maybe we the drummer is not or Johnro's not playing. So
mm.
as the original lineup, the last time we got to play was I think 2019.
Okay.
But the members didn't really want to end it. I mean,
Mm.
keep let's continue being Peach Fuzz, and
Yeah.
maybe in the near future we will get to do or record our newer songs because we do have a lot
Yeah.
of other songs which we weren't able to record.
Please do. And I have a suggestion. Maybe you should do your demo album again, re-record that now that you're here, and just
hmm
do a proper album. Maybe name it. Maybe you can launch
Hopefully.
it on Let's Talk.
hmm
I'd
Well,
love
yeah,
that.
we'll see.
Mhm. So Peach Fuzz, is still together. They didn't say yes to you ending it. Where can they find your music? Or do you guys have a page that they can follow?
We we have a Facebook page, and we have an Instagram as well, but we don't really do much with it. I mean,
Posting.
it's just there. We don't really do a lot of
Mm.
posting. Uh, our songs are also on Spotify, and there are a
Okay.
few YouTube videos posted
Okay.
on our page as well.
So YouTube, I know because I always make people listen to your
Mm,
song communication breakdown. I say, "This is my brother. Listen to this. He
mm.
wrote this song." But Spotify, what account should they look for if they want to listen to your songs? Because I haven't followed that. I'm going to follow it as soon as you share it today.
Uh,
Is
uh,
it your account or Peachfuzz?
no, it's a band page. Yeah, it's a verified page. So it's
Mm,
Peach Fuzz on
okay.
Spotify. I think if you search it, it's there.
Okay,
Yep.
I'll put it
Mm.
somewhere here on the screen as well for those who are watching. Make sure to follow that. So, moving forward, there still will be music from Peach Fuzz, is what I'm gathering from you. What else do you want to do in the music industry? I know what's more of I guess I'm wondering because I know you don't want to you're not keen on pursuing it as a career. So what can people expect from you and Peach Fuzz moving forward, Kridas? Is it just really performing together and just creating music together?
Yeah, that's basically it. I actually have songs that I've written myself as well.
Mm,
So I might maybe call a few of my like banda dude friends to
mm,
sort of like play um, songs that I've written. So
yeah.
that's one thing that I plan to hopefully do in the near future.
Oh, I'd love to hear that. I haven't heard any of your newer songs, and I
Mm.
know they will be equally, if not more, meaningful and beautiful than the ones I've heard in the past. So I look forward to you releasing that. Before we wrap up today's episode, I didn't really expect this to reach an hour because let's face it, it's kind of different when you have your brother on the podcast, your older brother at that. So I was a bit nervous about asking you questions, but yes, we are close to an hour now, Kuya Das, and I really
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to share more of your prepared songs. So before we wrap up, would you be okay with performing that one last song
Yeah,
for
sure.
everybody listening in? Okay. So tell us about what song you're going to perform and maybe why you chose that for today.
Yeah. Um, I just wanted to include a newer song,
Mm,
and I just happened to come across this song by accident on Spotify.
mhm,
So I was trying to search for. So I really love the David Bowie song from the '80s from the movie Labyrinth. It was called or it's called As the World Falls Down. And
mhm,
as I was typing, I think I was sort of doing something else while I was typing in the trying to search for the song, and this song came out, and this song played, and I happened to like it. So it's sort of
mhm.
like, mm, I guess this is one of the newer artists that I listen to,
Okay.
and something that I actually like. So this is by Matt Maltese. It's called As the World Caves In.
Mhm. Take it away.
My feet are aching and your back is pretty tired. And we've drunk a couple of bottles, babe, and set our grief aside. The papers say it's doomsday, the button has been pressed. We're gonna nuke each other up, boys, till old Satan stands impressed. And here it is, our final night alive. And as the earth burns to the ground, oh girl, it's young that I lie with as the atom bomb locks in. Oh, it's you I watch TV with as the world, as the world caves in. You put your final suit on, I paint my fingernails. Oh, we're going out in style, babe, and everything's on sale. We creep up on extinction. I pull your arms right in. I weep and say goodnight, love, while my organs pack it in. And here it is, our final night alive. And as the earth burns to the ground, oh girl, it's you that I lie with as the atom bomb locks in. Well, it's you I watch TV with as the world, as the world cave. Oh, it's you that I lie with as the atom bomb blocks in. Oh, it's you I welcome death with as the world, as the world caves in. As the world caves in.
Wow. Considering that song was released in 2017, it seems like a song that's apt to listen to during these troublesome days.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing that, Kuya Das. That was again very beautiful. I love your voice. I love it when you perform. So an honor to
Thank
have
you.
you on Let's Talk. Before this episode comes to a close, there are maybe musicians out there like you who are still in high school or college and who are thinking of starting their own band or writing their own songs. Do you have any piece of advice you want to share with them about how to start creating music and sharing it with everybody?
I think the love for music should always be there, and that should always be your first motivation for doing it. I guess if it's there, if your love for music is there, I think everything else will follow.
Thank you again. You live a very quiet life now, and I am so grateful that you said yes to joining me on Let's Talk. I am eternally proud to be your sister, and I mean that from the heart. Sorry for being cheesy. I know you hate it when I'm cheesy, but thank you once again for joining me today, Kuya Das. I really
That's
appreciate it.
it's a pleasure. Yep.
And thank you, everybody, for joining me and my brother as he performed and talked about his love for music. This is why I love music as well. I have people like Kuya Desi who keep creating great music, and I've been a witness to it since early on. So I hope you enjoyed his performances today and our talk as well. Thank you for joining us on this week's Let's Talk. Don't forget to join me again next week, Friday. Let's talk, okay? This is Jamie, your host, signing off. Goodbye, Kuya Das. Thank you again for
Bye,
joining me,
James.
and thank you,
Thank you.
everybody. Bye. Thanks so much for joining us. That was our deep dive convo on Let's Talk for this week. Till next week, don't forget, Let's Talk, Fridays, 5 to 6 p.m.